So I got up pretty early here for a second day in a row to do the Sunday ride with the Naples Cyclery as well. And they call this one their Florida Gulf Coast University ride, and that's because about the turnaround point from Naples Cyclery, where they start off the ride, goes around the Florida Gulf Coast University campus. And so that was pretty cool because we didn't do as much of a warm up on this ride. This one's a little bit more chill than the Saturday ride was, than the beach ride. The beach ride is like just a wide open, no stops, no red lights, kind of just hammer ride. And Sundays, still a hammer ride, but a lot more people participating on a consistent basis in the rotating pace line. And I was really excited to come out and after doing Saturday's ride to do Sunday's ride, because I definitely need more rotating pace line work. It's really beneficial in breakaways and racing. It's also something I'm probably going to run into more as I travel to do more group rides. Because of the nature of this ride, and because of the nature of the editing with the software and the videos, and being 42 and forgetting everything all the time, I did have a friend on Saturday's ride, and I texted with them a little bit after I sent him the video, but I also watched the video. So when I'm watching the videos on the laptop and I'm doing the editing, I'm only watching a screen about this big. Anything after that gets kind of choppy and gets hard to do. To watch like the full 4K high def video on YouTube after the fact, my friend Tom was on that ride, and I said in the video where I did the commentation over that I didn't know anybody on that ride, and I did show up to that ride with the plan of not knowing anybody. I was not expecting Tom to be there, and after watching the video and texting with him, his beautiful purple Dogma was in the video. It was in my camera shot quite a bit. I even spoke to him quite a bit on the warm-up and the cool-down. And, I got kind of confused there between the Saturday and the Sunday ride. Also, after the Saturday ride, I really liked those Naples Cyclery kits. So I stopped into the store, and I you had 100 or 200 drivers sitting, or drivers, you had like 100 or 200 cyclists sitting outside the bike shop, like almost like a community, like a great after ride, grab a coffee, grab some water, grab some Gatorade, sit around and hang out. I didn't have time for that. I was on a very, very quick trip, had a lot of stuff planned with the wife, and I didn't get to sit around afterwards, but I did stop into the shop, which is a really nice bike shop, really cool layout. And I bought one of the Naples Cyclery kits. They had one in my size, in their race fit. So I wore it to this ride that I'm showing you guys today. You can't see me in my own cameras. I have a front and back GoPro. I don't have the Insta360 that turns around and you can see me. But at first I felt like I might have infiltrated the group just a little bit, and the guy who sold me the kit, he's a younger guy. If I'm not mistaken, he's working on his first full Ironman coming up in Jacksonville. His name was Bryce. Super nice guy, good rider. I follow him on Strava now, good runner. So I did make friends on the ride too, and I'm after wearing the Naples Cyclery kit. Everybody did ask me who I was, what my name was, told me their names. So, I feel like if I go back down there, I will know people. It won't be a complete mystery to me or to them. But yeah, I did have a friend who I've rode with several times for several years. Tom, if you're watching, I'm coming up to Michigan to ride with you at some point in time. I know it's a beautiful state. I used to do a lot of trucking up there. But that's my beginning apology for the last ride I posted. I definitely misspoke on that one. For whatever reason, I remembered it as Tom was on this ride with me, not on the Saturday ride. But he was there on the Saturday ride. I said I didn't know anybody. I totally knew Tom, and it alleviated some nerves to talk to him during the warm up and the cool down, because I knew somebody, and I just completely slipped my mind. And then I can say after this ride, I do distinctly remember Andrew. He was helping me with the rotation. He was super cool about the whole ride. He definitely tried to help out with red lights and intersections and stuff. He seemed like a really good guy. I follow him now on Strava too. So I did make a few friends. I wasn't completely, into this group with a bunch of strangers. Not like Saturday. There's a lot of familiar faces from Saturday's ride on Sunday's ride, and now we're doing, as you can see, now we're doing the rotating pace line. And like I said, a lot more people participated in this on a more consistent basis. So there's a lot less attacks, a lot less anybody just staying on the front and hammering for any duration of time. And I was in the rotating pace line because this was me trying to do me. You'll see that the watts are a little bit more tame, but the speeds weren't really much different. A part of that is because not early on in the ride, because we started at 7 a.m. maybe later in the ride as traffic starts to build. The ability to draft traffic down in Florida is incredible. We have really wide bike lanes down there and multi-lane roads, and it's relatively safe to ride these divided highways with the bike lanes that they have. And when you get a ton of traffic passing you, it can completely negate a 20-mile-an-hour headwind. It can negate a crosswind that has to cross traffic to hit you, but it'll really bolster a tailwind as well. I mean, the speeds that you could reach, 28 to 35 mile an hour, don't take you much more than your FTP. When there's not traffic, unfortunately, it does take quite a few more watts. But I would say that this ride, the meat of this ride might have been just as fast as the Hammer ride. But a lot of that was, aided by the roads we took. Any beach route you take, if you start traveling on your bike, the closer you are to the ocean, the slower your ride will end up being. It's one of those things I've also noticed in very wooded areas. The wind likes to circulate, it likes to be unpredictable. Air gets denser in those kind of areas. Beaches are kind of the same. It's almost like there's a convergence of different wind zones that you get coming off the ocean, coming off the land, and sometimes it can be really, really hard to go fast on a beach, and it can also be really, really fast to go on a beach if you catch that wind just right, which is, I would say, rare. Maybe a hurricane's rolling in, but it happens. So there's a lot more watts on Saturday's ride, a lot more watts on the Saturday beach route, a lot less stop and go though, so that also helps bring up your average. This ride probably, if you just looked at the meat of both of those rides, these rides probably averaged between 26 and 28 mile an hour. Again, this one was just a little bit more tame and a little bit more steady, a little bit more consistent. And I would say that this one might have ended up being a little bit more scenic. This one had a little bit more vegetation on the route. The campus is beautiful. I did speed up the campus part. I'm not going to sit here and talk for an hour and 40 minutes. Most of you aren't going to sit here and watch an hour and 40 minutes. If you were on the ride, you'll probably skip to the parts of the ride where you'll see yourself in the video. I'm not going to sit there and bore you with talking. It's cool that we're going into a sunrise. That was super scenic. And there is one part of the video, if you make it to that part, I'm going to pop back in because we got cut off by a pickup truck. And this isn't, unfortunately, and I actually want to speak on this one while I still have everybody's attention early in the video. This is an unfortunate part of cycling, is a lot of motorists don't know the rules of the road literally whatsoever. There's a lot of entitlement issue with human beings as a whole, but motorists really accentuate that because they get to be in a 4,000 to 6,000 pound essentially assault weapon while you're completely exposed on a 17-pound bicycle, and when they beep at you and flip you off as they go past, or they they're on their motorcycles or their crotch rockets and they pretend to pedal, like, nobody cares about any of that. Like, nobody's gonna lose sleep over you mocking us or swearing at us, whatever. But the part where you try to swerve into us and you show your displeasure by cutting in close to us, that's the stuff that gets turned into police. That's the stuff that is gonna cause an uproar. These videos are now getting posted on social media all the time, and some people don't even bother turning it into the police or the sheriff. They just post it on social media, and the police take a stand from there. Those drivers get their license lost, they get fined, they get jail time. We had an instance of that on this ride, unfortunately, and I would say that was my first one in Florida, and rare Rare are the times where I felt like a car did something dangerous and it was malicious. Few and far between are the times a car does something dangerous and it wasn't malicious. And a lot more often, maybe not every ride, but enough, you know, you get mocked, you get beeped at, somebody says something that's completely incorrect. Again, the working knowledge of most people who drive a car, comparatively to what a cyclist is allowed to do and allowed to do on a road, it's low. They're not. If you get the chance to stop at a light and correct somebody on their rude behavior without being rude yourself, you're really doing us a favor. I try to do it. Because not everybody actually knows the rules of the road. So that'll be the part of the video I do pop back in after this initial intro to this ride. And you know, I was doing a little bit of music on the more scenic rides, and I'll probably keep doing that. I'm probably gonna start putting like music where I have to, you know, give a shout out to the artist, because I have my own genre of music I like to listen to. But I'm gonna leave some of these videos open right now and just let you listen to the road and cassette noises. And if you're watching this on your trainer or on your TV, you could probably just put on your own music too. You know, it'd probably be easier than having to listen to what I listen to or what I decide to dub over the video. So, you know, when I back out of the initial intro here, I'm going to just let it be raw road noise. And again, I'm gonna pop back in. I want to say, if I remember in the editing, it was somewhere around minute 45. Sorry that I don't remember that. I really should. But instead, now you have to watch through the video to see where you get cut off. And in this video, I'm not going to put the license plate. I'm going to say it on the video. I'm going to say it, and I might even put it in the comments. But I'm not going to put it up on the video board, whatever. At some point in time, I'm going to learn how to, it can't be that hard, make short reels and short videos of, and just put collaborations of people cutting us off, people being rude. You know, then unfortunately crashing is also a part of cycling. I don't have a whole lot of that, but like, you know, little compilations of crashes and stuff, especially if I know everybody's okay. But yeah, that'll end up on the short reels. But again, I'm gonna cut out, like I said, what you're watching right here is gonna be a rotating pace line. I actually do want to talk about my computer real quick, because it's there on the screen. I'm maybe pointing to. We'll see when I make it. I said that was the start of the show in another video, and in other videos I've also said it doesn't work. In one video I kind of, you know, took a shot at Wahoo. I love the Wahoo's products. I love the controllability. I love the data it shows me. I like the way it shows me. I could probably compliment a few other brands. I could probably diss a few other brands. I don't feel like I have that kind of social media influence to even bother with that. So I'm not going to. I'm just going to say I use Wahoo and I love it. I probably brand loyal to Wahoo until somebody shows me something exponentially better. And again, the screen recording part isn't a promoted function. It's not an advertised function of Wahoo. So for me to get these screen recordings, you know, you had to jump through a couple steps. I did make a video on that, because like even AI on, you know, if you ask Google, it doesn't really tell you that the Roam 3 screen records. In fact, some literature will tell you it doesn't, and it does. And then, you know, they pretty much promote the Bolt as their best screen recorder. And I can tell you it's been just as full of errors as this Roam 3 has been. I probably shouldn't have deleted all the files that didn't work, especially the old ones, because as I make old videos, I'm still not going to have the screen recordings. But my wife recently did you know, her own IT work and learned how to fix the corrupted files. So hopefully from here on out, every single cycling video I post should have that computer, because my page will be based around this. This is what I'm doing. This is what my page is for, is to promote cycling, to, you know, if you're never gonna I think I said this in the last video. If you've never planned on going to Naples with your bicycle, but maybe you travel to Florida, you watch this group ride, you see these numbers, you're like, I want to do that speed at those watts. I want to get up at 7 in the morning and get my 40, 50 miles in before I have to take the family to the beach. I'm bringing my bike because I watched this video, you know? Or maybe you live in the area and you didn't even know that there was this group ride going on. Maybe somebody on this group, instead of trying to tell their friend, just come, can send them this video and say, I told you that this is what your numbers would be. I told you that you can hang. You ride at 200 watts all the time. Look, this is all you average is 200 watts for 24 mile an hour. My page is going to be centered around that screen recording, so I need it to work. And after hours of trying to play IT, and I'm not a software engineer. I'm not, and I don't feel like a millennial at times when it comes to technology. Said my wife figured it out. She figured out how to kind of, I don't want to say write data, but she did. And now I'm able to fix these corrupted files from Wahoo, and I will take back everything bad I've said about Wahoo and my experience with these screen recordings if that continues to work, and I can fix any corrupted files that don't play on the video player or play in the app, and I'm going to be really happy with this, and that was why I wanted to speak on that, because even on the luxury sort of fun rides, I'm hoping that I have that data up there too, just in case there's numbers from something that are beneficial to somebody watching. Like I said, the overlay for the computer, the numbers, the data, that's all real time. That's all going to be real to the ride, and I don't want cycling to continue to be a myth. I don't want it to continue to be, oh, this ride ain't hilly. This ride's only 40 miles and it's 45. Like, I'm just gonna put the numbers up there, and if I don't recall correctly, as I tell somebody, come down to Florida with me and try this ride, we averaged 29 mile an hour at 300 watts, and then you watch my video and it was 25.5 mile an hour, and the normalized is 275, and you're like, no, you like to exaggerate. But not everybody's always exaggerating. Not everybody's always overselling or underselling something. Our memories suck. Let's be real. We're not a bunch of kids in our early 20s doing this for. Actually, if you're watching the video, there's definitely kids in their early 20s on this video, and there's definitely social media influencers in their early 20s. So, but I'm not. Most of my friends aren't. In fact, you're probably going to see it, and I was watching some of my video, like I said, from last week. There's a lot of older gentlemen on this ride, and they say that cardio can extend your life, but weightlifting can improve your quality of life, and cycling is a decent mix of both of those. You're getting in the cardio, but you're definitely getting in the muscular workout too. And a lot of retirees go to Florida for the better weather, for the better workouts, for the year-round outdoor activities. And I tell you that the gentlemen on this ride that are older than me are still top-level fitness. I really, I'm really impressed by it. It's awesome that I'm pretty sure that they're the ones that run the show down there. I'm really glad that they do this. I'm really glad that they have these rides. Like I said, there's well over 100 riders on Saturday's ride. Sunday's ride was pushing 50 or more. It was still a ton of riders, bigger groups than we get here in Ohio at times. In fact, I could probably only think of maybe 1 or 2 rides a year where we gather anything like that, anywhere between Cleveland and Pittsburgh, maybe the New York Cookie ride, the Red Flannel Jacket ride for Bonnie Park Group, the Dirty Dozen down in Pittsburgh. Those things attract a ton of riders without it being a sanctioned race. This is just Saturday and Sunday for them. So kudos to them for that. Kudos to them for their strength. There were times where maybe I didn't even want to push anymore on one of these 2 rides, but these guys kept going, and I'm like, if they're doing it, I got to be able to do it, right? You know, if you're coming across my videos as somebody who doesn't do this and you don't even understand it or whatever, I feel like I can give a pretty good explanation on why this is something you want to try and you want to do. I definitely have you know, a couple people now watching the videos that are new to cycling. I would like it if people watch the videos that haven't even tried cycling yet, because if you drive past us in a car or we go past you, and on these rides, when we do 40-45 miles, we go past a ton of people on bicycles, we go past a ton of people walking, a ton of people running, not always shown in the videos, but you know, I ride every day. I ride upwards of 30 miles every single day, so I see a ton of people, which means they also see me, and the thing I'm doing might not make sense. Why are you guys in tights? Why are you guys, you know, on these seats that look like cardboard? Like, there's no way that's comfortable. But I can tell you, if you're new to cycling or you haven't tried cycling out yet, the higher end clothing that fits like an extra layer of skin is insanely comfortable. I would want my dress clothes made out of these materials. As far as the bicycles go, this is one of those sports you could buy your way into. The motor always needs the biggest investment. That's you. That's not an e-bike reference. You are your motor. You know, some people, you know, played ball sports their whole life and have run out of ball sports to play. You already have the motor, you know, so hop on a bike and be the engine, you know. But the body of what you're using, the bicycle does change your speed, especially at higher rates of speed. I'm gonna do some videos coming up to kind of test some boundaries on price point items and maybe even like common sense and traction stuff. I have a video in mind I really want to do. I really want to do a practical ride and a time trial ride between two bikes. One has an expensive set of wheels on race tires. The other one has, you know, tready commuter tires with Chinese cheap wheels. And I've been riding the two bikes, and I can tell you at lower speeds, negligible is probably the best word. I don't know at higher speeds yet. I'm going to do that for the video. So you don't have to spend, in my opinion, you don't have to spend a ton of money, because that 15 to 20 mile an hour average range on a bicycle, there's not a whole lot of difference. I mean, there's a big difference between like a Walmart bike and a bike shop bike, sure. But, you know, between like a $2,000 low-end carbon fiber bike with, you know, low-end Shimano or SRAM components, or you start to get into the knockoff Chinese wheels, knockoff Chinese frames, the highest end bikes aren't, maybe they're marginally faster. Maybe you'll notice at a 27, 28 mile an hour race. I don't think you're going to notice in a draft. I don't think you're going to notice putting around party pace with your friends. I feel like I got a little long-winded there, because I mean, on this group ride, all you're going to see is nice bikes. It's a nice part of Florida. I doubt anybody's in a financial situation there that couldn't afford it. But again, if this stuff doesn't make sense to you, I'm hoping I'm clarifying it at least a little bit. And everything's funner in a group. You know, the more people you get involved, the better it is. The thing about groups, and you know, some of the videos I'm showing, the working together. I actually had somebody watching one of these videos reach out to me and ask, "How did you guys know to just start rotating?" And there's really only a couple ways to group ride where you're sharing the load. So you know, rotating pace line's one of them. You watch enough professional racing, you'll see that going on, but you also see people take pulls. Taking a pull means you are on the front for an undetermined amount of time, but your goal is to be steady and smooth while you're up there while driving the pace. You don't want to accelerate hard. You definitely don't want to brake abruptly, especially without warning, and you want to point out any hazards in the road. If you're watching the videos like tight enough, you'll see, maybe not so much in Florida, it's not like Ohio with the potholes, but you'll see people pointing to the ground. They're pointing out obstructions to the other riders because we ride so close to each other to gain that draft, to lower those watts, that you don't want the rider behind you not to see a stick in the road, a piece of metal in the road, a pothole or something, you go around and they clobber it at the rate of speed that we're going at any given time. Especially right now, we're doing 25 mile an hour, which for our group was actually pretty docile. You didn't necessarily need to be directly behind a rider like I am to do 25, but you do need to be directly behind him now that you're doing 27 and you're accelerating. If this dude was about to swerve around like a piece of metal or something, or another rider in the bike lane, that needs pointed out, you know? So that's what we're doing in the video. And those are things you need to know to ride with a group. You need to know whether or not the group is doing a rotating pace line, whether or not everybody's taking equal pulls, whether or not one rider just plans on pulling the whole ride, whether or not it'll be a single pace line, double pace line, whether or not it'll be like a mob or a peloton. Like those things are, see, we're about to go around a rider, so everybody had to scoot over into the lane of traffic, which to every car's seemingly demise, they hate when we're in a lane of traffic, especially when we have a bike lane. We're still, even with a bike lane, entitled to a lane of traffic. And as far as I know, that's every state. 3 feet minimum to pass us, every state. And that's the reason why right there. We don't all ride at the same speed. It's the same thing as when you're on the freeway in a car. Does everybody have to stay in the right lane and the left lane is only for the highest? No, the left lane is for emergency vehicles and passing. So you are allowed in the left lane, you're just not really allowed to camp there. But what about when there's 3 lanes or 4 lanes in the highway? It's still just the left lane you're not allowed to camp in. The same thing for us. It would be really rude of us if we took up the next lane over, if we took up the whole road from curb to curb. Our group is big enough to do that, but like the rules of the road are, you know, we're allowed to ride side by side and we're allowed to take up an entire lane. So, you know, if that reaches somebody in a car that doesn't know that, now you knew. If you're a cyclist and you're new or you're getting into cycling and you didn't know that, you don't have to be in the bike lane just because there's a bike lane. You should be. This is called courtesy. Single line is also called courtesy, but you don't have to be, because they can't force it. What if the city or the state you're in doesn't clean that bike lane? What if that's just broken glass and gravel? You're still gonna ride in it, you know? Also, like, sometimes it's just not safe sometimes that's just a shoulder. It's just a soft shoulder and it's not actually a bike lane. Yeah, cars would love it if you're there, but then they also don't pass and give you any room, you know? Sometimes it's a little bit safer to be on the left side of the white line, because now you're forcing cars to switch lanes instead of just pass tightly in the lane with you. So that's the thing I like about the double pace line, is that we can't all fit in the bike lane, so we do kind of have to go over the other side of that white line, which does force cars to go around us. And I think that's the issue we're going to run into with the driver later in the video. Like I said, I'm going to skip ahead to that, and you know, I'm going to bow out here gracefully. But just so you know, like, as far as a rotating pace line or a double pace line doesn't necessarily have to rotate. You could just have 2 people on the front pulling the whole way, and you could just change out those riders as well. That probably takes up a little bit more space, especially on the exchange, than a rotating pace line does. But this is it done right. We have 1 lane in the bike lane, 1 lane just left of the white line. We're taking up our lane of traffic, and we're keeping it tight so that cars don't have to go, like, there's so many riders and there's so many blinking lights. You're going to see us well ahead of time. We're riding at hours where there's not a lot of traffic. We're trying to do everything to be as considerate as possible, but don't confuse the consideration with what we are and are not allowed to do, because the rules of the road aren't necessarily what you think that they are or what you think you're entitled to as a car driver. We're just being considerate. So I'm gonna skip ahead to the part where the driver's not so considerate. So we just crossed Estero Boulevard's Estero Parkway to go over I-75, and we made a left onto Three Oaks Boulevard, and we're coming up to the intersection of Corkscrew, and it's a pretty busy intersection. As you see, traffic is pretty light, and as you see, we're still doing the same thing where we're taking up the bike lane and one lane for our rotating pace line. So I stated earlier, that's an okay thing to do. In Florida, they got some other weird rules. You see a lot of e-bikes and a lot of commuters on the sidewalks. Ohio, it is illegal to ride a bicycle on a sidewalk, and I'm pretty sure that goes for children as well. Nobody's ever going to enforce that for kids, but for like different states have different rules, so those are kind of important to know. And I'm sure the Florida drivers would love it if we were just on the sidewalk doing 10 mile an hour, but you know, road cyclists on road bikes at these high speeds want to use, and there's a reason why there's rules in place for us. We want to use everything that's available to us to be as safe as possible. If you can imagine riding 25 or 30 mile an hour on a bike with tires this narrow on a sidewalk, going around, people pushing strollers, people pushing shopping carts, dogs on leashes. A dog on a leash can go from sidewalk to sidewalk that you don't even have to worry about hitting the person or the dog. You worry about hitting the leash, you know. That's why we're supposed to be on the road. And again, like when it comes to cars, that speed limit you see, 25, 35, 40, that is the limit. That's not the I have to be going this speed, you know. Like if there's not a minimum posted, you could be going 5, you know. It's a courtesy not to do things like that. When we're doing 27 mile an hour in a 40 zone, we're not like so far off the speed limit that we're really that much of a hindrance. Either way, as you see in my rear camera, there's no truck in sight. Every car is getting by us, no problem. Light traffic, whatever time it is says on my computer right now is the time of day. 8:18 in the morning on a weekend. So we're not stopping anybody from getting to work. We're not slowing down a funeral procession. We're not hindering traffic, and that's us being a courtesy. It's a divided highway with 2 lanes and fast-moving traffic while nobody's out, and we're not going to go into a turning lane when we're not turning. So we are slowing down. We slow down in a little bit of a mob mixture, and this is another thing I don't get about motor vehiclists is like they're always in a hurry to beat us to a red light. For what? We can let you go around us at the red light.
Green light.
No big deal. Again, I normally don't record us stopping or being stopped, but I wanted this. You hear the horn. And here goes the truck, and he passes so much closer to us than it looked like it is. He swerves right here at the front riders. This would have been the best shot of his license plate. I don't know how well you could see that. I was able to make it out. This is the license plate and the truck that belongs to. So if anybody wants to turn this into the Lee County Sheriff's, go for it. Other than that, ride was great. The Naples Cyclery group is a great group. I didn't catch everybody's names in this rotating pace line. I did get a couple names. Don't remember them all. That's my bad. I do remember Andrew. I do remember Bryce. I definitely gave my shout out to Tom. I'm so sorry, Tom. And I would love to ride with them again. I hope that anybody who sees this video decides the same and makes a trip down to Florida. I hope anybody else who sees this video, if they want their group ride shown, on YouTube, invites me out. Have a good one.